What's going on, Leadership Live? Here's a problem almost every leader I talk to has. They know something's broken in their organization, but they can't get people to change. The team resists, the process drags, and somehow the leader ends up carrying the whole thing alone. Well, my guest today has spent decades solving exactly that across 50 different countries. This is Fortune 100 companies and the US military and just like so many different places. He's an award-winning author of 20 different books, one of which I have right here. Former Notre Dame quarterback. I think he played at the same time as Rudy. We can get the scoop. And one of the foremost global authorities in change mastery and lean leadership. John Murphy, welcome to Leadership Live. Let's go, brother.
Let's go, brother. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Donnie. Thank you.
John, I'm so curious, man. 50 countries, right? You've worked with some of the most complex organizations. What's the one thing that almost is always true when you walk in the door, no matter the industry, no matter the culture? What do you see?
A resistance, for one, which comes from fear. You know, I come in, I'm a stranger. And so there's always a trust and a credibility issue. But for 38 years now, almost all of my business has come from referrals from one executive at a company referring me to another. I don't make sales calls, things like that. So I come in, I have credibility at the very top, which is why I'm brought in. And the first thing I see, Donnie, is misalignment in many cases. Right at the top, the leadership team's not aligned. And culture is a reflection of the senior leadership. It's pretty simple. You know, what you see in terms of culture, if you see dysfunction, you've got dysfunctional leadership. So culture is always a reflection of the people who set the core values, of people who develop the business model and strategy, and the tempo, really, the rhythm of the company, the feel. So, you know, I'm brought in to change culture and to help companies really pull together and get aligned and get focused and deliver top value to customers. And if they don't, they die. You know, we've seen so many great companies over the years just vanish because they couldn't get out of their own way.
How much? I'm curious. I was doing the math, John. Since this is your second time on with me, and we kind of briefly touched on your stint at Notre Dame. First off, I guess the business side of the question is, how much of what you learned on the Notre Dame football field shows up in how you lead or change and help leaders effectively change today? And then the second one is were you around in the time of Rudy? But go ahead.
Well, I was before Rudy, actually.
Okay.
But Donnie, I'll say this, and I don't mean this a slam against education at all. But I learned far more on the football field in terms of applying what I do today than anything I did in the classroom. And I know that's the whole fuel model is applied learning. You know, you learn by doing and practicing and applying whatever the theory, whatever the information or the knowledge is telling you. And I use simply the metaphor of golf. I could use football too, but you don't learn golf or football or anything truly, music, from textbooks. You learn by playing and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and gaining experience and ultimately, in my case, gaining more and more credibility so that when I come into an organization to get hit with that resistance, I'll often say, you don't have to trust me, but trust the process that I'm going to teach you. All right, let's just try that. If we can trust the process will teach you to trust me. And I really, you know, it sounds crazy, but I don't expect people to trust me when I come in as a stranger. I don't even speak the language in many cases. I don't really know the culture of the country so much. I learned quickly the culture of the company. And so I just let's use the process to get aligned. And that right there starts breaking down the resistance because you start with facts and indisputable data. So how do you argue with that? So if we can take a value stream, you know, the way the company's making money from end to end, from in the door to out the door, whatever that is,
Hmm.
Information we translate into a service. If we're a law firm or something like that, it's information. If it's manufacturing, it's a product. The material in the door. We do our thing. We deliver the product out the door. That's how we make our money. And so we start with that. And so who's really the boss? It's the customer. And that gets people's attention. Well, no. Our shareholders are the boss. That's where we're getting the money. No, you're getting the money from the customer. And if you keep borrowing money from the shareholders of the banks and things like that, and you're not delivering value to the customers, you're going down. You're going down. So let's start with lean. The first principle of lean, which is what I teach, there's 5 principles. The first principle is called specify value in the eyes of the customer with a capital C, customer, which means the end user. So in a hospital situation, it's the patient. In pharmaceutical, it's the patient taking the product. In the automotive industry, it's you driving the car. If you're in the tire business, it's you driving the car. And that's where the alignment starts, because across companies, across the supply chain, a lot of it's all about me or us, our piece in the chain. But if you don't look at the chain end to end, waste creeps in all over the place. So we start with value in the eyes of the big C customer, the ultimate customer. By the way, that definition comes right out of MIT. So I quote MIT a lot when it comes to the big C customer.
I like
And
that
so,
big C.
once we're clear on our value proposition, what we're proposing to customers, and entrepreneurs learn this from day one. If I'm going to make it as an entrepreneur in a startup, I got to deliver value, or I'm done, right? So that's where I'll start. So most companies start out lean because they don't have a lot of resources, they don't have a lot of space, they don't have a lot of money. So the only way we're going to make it is to deliver value to the market, to our customers, get paid, and grow. It's money is the lifeblood, the currency, if you will, of any business. So that's the very first principle. The second principle of lean is identifying the value stream and end to end and eliminating waste in that stream, a waste and variation. So when you look at the stream of an Amazon, it's pretty lean. And you look at the stream of a Walmart, which has managed to compete in this day and age where a Kmart's gone or Sears is gone. What are they doing differently? In a word, it's flow, which is the third principle of lean. Make value flow at the pull of the customer. So we know who the big C is. They want something. They're pulling it. How quickly can you get it to them? Because time is value. Customers are paying for time, not just a product or a service. If you have to wait 3 weeks to get a response from your lawyer, and it takes 10 minutes for the lawyer to do that piece of work, but they're busy doing all kinds of other stuff, how do you feel as a customer? You don't care about all the other stuff they're doing. You're paying them. You want value, which is a function of quality, price, time, accuracy, predictability, consistency. And it doesn't mean that you're the best in the world at it. And I use this simple example of McDonald's, which has obviously survived for decades. And if you look at value at McDonald's, what is quality? What is service? What is time? What is innovation? And what is price? Those factors. Well, I go to McDonald's if I go, because I actually don't. But if I'm going, in terms of quality, it's not the best meal in the world, and they don't promise that. But it's consistent. It's predictable. You know ahead of time pretty much what you're going to get if you order a Big Mac, right? It's got to be fast or you're not going, right? It's fast food. And if they take, an hour to get you your meal, that's not going to work. So you're paying for time. Sometimes you don't even get out of your car. So a service factor is you don't even have to get out of your car. Drive up and get what you want. You're not expecting to take a first date to McDonald's and get white tablecloth and valet parking, right? That's not their value proposition. So when we're really clear on our value proposition, what's getting us paid, and we're competitive on things like time and price and the whole value equation, I love what Dell did when he started Dell Computer. He essentially applied lean right from the start. And with my first computer back in the 80s was a Dell computer. I ordered it on an 800 number because there was no internet at the time, and it was shipped to my house within a week. And that's not coming out of inventory. Dell carries 2 days of inventory, so it's turning fast, and inventory is cash. So this is what's going on at Amazon. It's what's going on at Walmart. It's going on at Toyota. These companies that have been birthed really in lean are turning inventory, which is cash, so fast. You go to Walmart and you buy something and they scan it, it reorders it, and they've got it back within 2 days, and they don't have to pay for it for 30.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting your money right there, and they haven't paid for it yet. That's pretty. And when you're talking multi-billion-dollar, consignment shop, that's pretty significant. So that's lean. You start with the big C customer. That's the person walking into the store to buy whatever they're buying. Ordering from Amazon. The value stream is how it gets from start to finish, and you're the finish. The third principle is making that value flow at the pull of the customer. Think about this. You drive by a car dealership and you see 100 cars in the lot. Who ordered those? Nobody, actually. The dealer did. But there's no customer that's actually ordered those cars because, well, we got to have cars on the lot, and then we have to have discounts and sales. It's a push model. It's a push. And that's the way a lot of businesses are run. Pull is completely different. You look at Tesla, you can buy a Tesla without ever talking to a person and have it delivered to your driveway exactly the way you want it. That's a totally different model than what we've grown up with. So part of the culture change is to give an executive team and then more and more people within the company this training where we really understand the mechanics of running a lean, highly efficient, high performing organization,
John,
which then leads to Kaizens.
I want to get to Kaizen. I know that one of the things about lean is it helps remove, like, there are wastes. Now you talk about waste in an organization, and I want to think rather than big companies and Walmarts. I'm like, I want to think small shops, John. I would like bring me into like that small and medium business leader. Maybe they've got 12 people in their organization. Maybe they've got 100. I mean, obviously, like, it all scales, right? But we're not all running McDonald's here. Talk to me about the waste that you see inside of organizations and walk me through. I think you mentioned 7 different types.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Bring us into speed, and what can we look for?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, Donnie, because I'll take even deeper. I'll take you from a small company like you've asked right into your family.
Let's go.
I know you got 8 kids and how you run your household. And a lot of people don't run a very lean household. So the 7 wastes. The first one is, and they're not in any particular order, but one of them is correction. It's where we make mistakes. Could be a typo, for that matter. It could be a defect on a product or any correction, anything that involves correction. It leads to non-value added activity. We have to do something. We have to do an activity that's not adding value. We're fixing something. If we don't get it right the first time, it's a form of waste. So people could start thinking about in any size business, where are we making mistakes? And where do we have to do stuff over again? Okay, and a lot of times it's solving symptoms rather than root cause problems. So things keep reoccurring, and we got people inspecting and testing and whatever. So correction, overproduction is the second one, which also includes oversupply. Overproduction is where we make more than we have to at the time we need it. We make inventory, essentially, or we buy inventory. Now, we all make that, I won't call it a mistake, but when we go to Costco and we buy a month's supply of paper towel or something like that, you get a really good deal on it. Hey, that's not so bad. But the idea is, if we can run a lean household or a lean business where we can resupply within 24 hours, why do we need all that space? I've had big clients and small clients looking at more warehousing space, but turning the existing warehouse only 2 or 3 times a year. That's ridiculous in this, especially in this day and age. If you can turn your inventory even monthly, you can cut your warehousing space down significantly. Think about if you stocked your house with a year's supply of stuff, you know, where are you going to put it? You know, that just takes up space, which is a form of waste. Okay, so overproduction. By the way, Taishi Ono at Toyota, the chief engineer, considered overproduction the worst of the 7 wastes because it actually causes several of the others. So, so another one is movement. Movement means moving it from here to there. Moving something from here to there doesn't change it. So that's considered non-value added activity. So a critical definition in lean is value added activity, which is only what we do to change whatever it is we're doing to the customer's specs, to change it the first time only. So if we make a mistake and have to do it over, that's non-value added. If we move it from here to there, it doesn't change it, that's non-value added. If we look at it and inspect it and test it, it doesn't change it, it's non-value added. So knowing the difference between value added and non-value added is huge because we've got people all over the place, small businesses, big businesses, people at home doing stuff that's adding no value and that's wasting time. And then they say, I'm overwhelmed. I don't have enough time. No, you don't have your priorities straight. You don't even know the difference between value added and non-value added. And I'm talking about major corporations that don't know the difference. Here's the trick. When you look at a value stream, there's actually 3 things going on. There's value added activity, there's non-value added activity, and there's nothingness. Meaning if I take 184 days to make a vitamin tablet, this is a real case, from raw material in the door to finished goods out the door, 184 days, the value added activity is less than 48 hours. The non-value added activity is more than that because you're moving stuff in and out of inventory. That's movement, one of the 7. Inventory is one of the 7. I'll get to that one. Okay. It's just busy work where it's not flowing. So that's critical. So overproduction, oversupply. I had a major company up in Canada that they had to dispose of $100 million, very big company, in raw material inventory. This was pharmaceutical because it expired. And the head of procurement told me at the time, well, we got a good deal on it.
Yep, sure. Well, to the movement thing, I love, it's so funny because a lot of us there's another term for it. We call it work. People think work is movement, right? You can dig a hole, and either if you do it in a proper way, you could make a swimming pool, but you could do the same thing ineffectively all over your yard or in the wrong place or your neighbor's yard or whatever. Still have the sweat of the labor, the tiredness that resulted from all of that, but how much work was being done? And the answer is 0. I love I've never knew that value added activity. Essentially, that's like the physics definition of work, which is moving something from, if you pick something up and put it down, it's not work. It's like making movement in direction. That's awesome.
And it's getting it right the first time. So if I write a book and it's got to be re-edited 3 times, all the re-editing is non-value added activity. It doesn't mean it isn't necessary to some extent. There's always some degree of non-value added activity. For example, in a business, you have an accountant, typically. You have people, keeping track of the numbers, right? You've got human resources managers. You've got people hiring and such. Does any of that change the product? And the answer is no.
Right.
You have entire departments doing non-value added activity. Now, some of it's the law. You have to, account and pay your taxes and such. And obviously you need to hire people and train people and things like that. But if it isn't changing what you're getting paid for, it's considered a form of waste. It's not value added. So the idea is, how do we lean that out to the point where we don't need customer service people taking orders because the customer can just click a link and order. Why do we have people taking orders?
I can hear the excuses all over because, and maybe you can help us undo some of the fixation we have on things that just, oh, we do it this way because we do it this way. I've heard people say, well, oh, this is how I get rapport with people when I fill this order in with them. Like it's that we create all kinds of reasons around something that's not even necessary. How can
Sure.
you, yeah, like let's just imagine you're spotting as a leader, um, there's a correction, there's you're overproducing in supply, or we've got movement here. How do we bring people into the fold of like this? And I know you've got a few more to list out, but like let's just even take like this movement. How do you convince someone and then bring them into a place to where it flows?
Sure. Well, data. And so, Donna, we've talked before. I use this DMAIC model, DMAIC. So we start by defining the current state, defining the mission, being clear on the mission, defining the voice of customer and the specs, defining value in the eyes of the customer. So let's be real clear on our mission, defining our mission and what our current state looks like. M is measures. Let's populate the current state with measures. So, for example, on movement, how much movement? Give me a number. Give me an undisputable fact. Let's not talk opinions and assumptions. So, for example, in that vitamin case I mentioned, where it took 184 days, it was 14.2 miles of material movement to make a pill.
It's insane.
It was mind blowing. Okay, mind blowing. And that's what helps align a team is when you actually get real data and people go, whoa, I had no idea we had $300 million in inventory in a warehouse that turns twice a year. That's like nuts. So that's where
So
the
data
measure phase comes in.
to make.
Now
Is
the
there an
measure,
emotional side of this? Like, like you present data, but do we also like what about moving people's emotions and their beliefs to get them to align with you? Obviously, facts talk, but
yeah,
how do you address that part?
that's a great question. I call it the ugly baby syndrome. And so when I'm teaching, black belts, master black belts, green belts, and I'm teaching these very intelligent teams to end to end, look at the value stream. Let's define it. Let's measure it. We'll get to analysis, improvement, innovation, and control, the rest of DMAIC. But let's get the data. Let's be perfectly aligned as a team. There's no disputing the data. It is what it is, and it's ugly. That's the ugly baby. Now, when you report this to senior management who come in during the week of a Kaizen event, and you're giving them 20 minutes of a presentation, and I'll say to the senior leaders, no talking for 20 minutes, no chairs. We're not sitting down, no PowerPoints. We're not doing this the old culture way. We're going to a whole new culture within a culture. So the team is presenting, each team member is presenting something in that 20-minute period on the current state. And then later in the week, the root causes, and then later in the week, the solutions and the implementation. So we move fast. On day one, when we're debriefing on current state, the ugly baby syndrome is this. You don't want to tell them their baby's ugly because it's their baby.
Okay.
So you don't want to say this is wrong and this is messed up and this, oh my God, we just look at this. No. What you want to say is reporting live from Palm Beach, Florida. Here are the facts. I mean, that's just the way I teach it. So
Okay.
here are the facts. Okay, we take 184 days to make this product. 14.2 miles moving it around, non-value added activity. And then we associate costs with all of that. And so basically, it's like the show Undercover Boss, where CEOs disguise themselves and go in and actually see their own businesses and go, oh my God, what, really? And so by the end of that 20 minutes, and we say, are there any questions? Almost every time, no. There are no questions. They're standing there with their mouths open going, what do we do next? Right? I said, I'll say, come back tomorrow because tomorrow we're doing root cause analysis and we'll tell you exactly why this is going on.
Okay. So we got the ugly baby. I'm curious because this to me, I can imagine. I can imagine I don't know if you've hit a wall, but I'm imagining you have. And I'm wondering what the biggest wall that you've hit when you have been leading change inside of an organization. And how do you get through that without losing people? Like a real play by play, so to speak, for the quarterback.
Yeah. Well, the greatest resistance, I'll give you, I'll let you think about this for a minute. Okay, you got senior leadership, you've
Okay.
got middle management, and then you've got the people on the line doing the value added work is always done on the line, or it's done by machines actually more and more these days. People don't even do the value add.
Mm-hmm.
So, which of the three groups do we see the most resistance in? Hands down, middle management.
Middleman.
Hands
Okay.
down.
Can
Senior
you tell us
leadership.
a time like where that happened?
Oh, it happens every place I go.
Oh, okay.
Here's why: because they're not adding any value, and they're not leading. They're in a control place. They're fear based. So what we're doing is putting a squeeze on them, Donnie. Where senior leadership's just like, wow, it's an awakening. It's like a form of enlightenment. I didn't even realize this was going on in my own business. These
Oh, wow.
facts, these details, and they're indisputable. And the policies, which is a root cause frequently driving this stuff, and the design of the process, the design of the organization, the design of the service offering, that's a root cause. Our measurement systems are measuring the wrong thing. That's a root cause. And all of that flows out to the customer, and the customer's wondering, what in the world are you people doing? So senior leadership, I help them with these teams of their people, highly intelligent people. I help them get it. And then learning those principles of lean, okay, right through to the fourth principle is involve and empower and enable your people. So that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing with the Kaizen team. And then the fifth one's just basically you never get it right, you never get it done. Nobody wants a Six Sigma floppy disk anymore. So even when you got it perfect, whatever, it's going to be obsolete sooner or later. So you keep going. Kaizen's continuous improvement forever, basically. It's a philosophy, and it's part of a culture. So you're just constantly on the leading edge, looking for better ways to do it. I know companies that have done 40 Kaizen events on the same process.
Mm.
That's just
Wow.
wild. So what happens, Donnie, is the middle management starts getting exposed. So why aren't we fixing this stuff? The people on the line are geeked. They're excited. Now they're not that way at the beginning of the week because they're nervous, typically, and they're like, Murphy, I don't know how we're going to actually get these changes made by Friday. I just say, trust the process, and work with me through the DMAIC. So define, measure. Midweek, we've got the root causes done through the analysis. I've got courses on the 5 whys, which is a great tool on that. We then get into the I. Historically, the I in DMAIC was improve. Let's improve this process now. And I use innovate more now than improve, because why should we improve something we should delete? Just why we even do this anymore? This
Interesting.
is
Yeah.
there's a better way to do this or not do it at all. And then you finish with control, where you lock in the changes. You lock in the gains with standard work, with measurement systems, with a redesign. And this is the new way we do things around here, which is synonymous with culture. I describe culture as the way we do things around here. So how do you change culture? The way we do things around here? You change the way we do things around here. And you don't need to take a year or 2 years or 3 years, which some experts say, to change culture. You do it, you begin now, and you be the change, which is one of my mantras, the old Gandhi, be the change.
Okay.
Demonstrate it now. And so when a CEO and a C-suite come into the close of a Kaizen event, and they can see the changes we've made in a week that they've struggled with in some cases, one told me 7 years, they see that is a completely different culture, where it's aligned, it's focused, it's motivated, that the employees are engaged, and they come out of that Kaizen event and seeing things far beyond their initial scope inside their silo or whatever. Now they see
For sure.
dream. It's an MBA in a week.
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect model for fuel.
Yeah, and why shouldn't we be taking? I don't want to say a shortcut, but the shortest cut to get to where we're going. A lot of us have been putting up with things because it's just like the furniture that gets passed down from your parents or the people that you knew when you got married, and you just carry it along with you, never questioning whether or not you want it. One of the things you mentioned earlier, and I just wanted a quick plug for Fuel, who my Fuel And so it's a way that people can engage and make the move in a way that gets results. It's okay to have an ugly baby. You can move. Murph, I've got a question. This is we'll tee it up here, and we want to bring people into a place where they can find you. But I'm imagining, first off, we like there's a trap door that opened and half of our audience just went away because it was like, I'm in middle management, and then they just disappeared when you did that. You banished them. But the rest of us who are here, they're saying, all right, Murph, great. I'm listening. I want this culture thing you're talking about. They know that they need to change something, but they don't know where to start. So I want to know from you, like, what's the first move? Not the whole playbook, just the first move to get on that right path.
Yeah, lean works backwards essentially. So what that means is you start with the customer, preferably the big C. But if the big C is 4 companies down, because you go through a dealership, a distribution, wholesalers, whatever you do, and the end user is way down there, you may have to just take slices of the value stream. So let's start with the company we ship to or something. We work through, and what exactly is it they are paying us for? Okay, what is value in the eyes of the customer? The first principle, and then how do we stream it to them, and where's the waste in those streams? And real quick, just to finish the 7 ways. So you have correction, you have overproduction and oversupply, you have movement, you also have motion. This is a bunch of people running around doing stuff, looking for things, and it's just that doesn't change anything. So motion. You've got waiting. This is a huge one. So you've got people waiting to get approvals. You're waiting in meetings for stuff. Customers are waiting to get their product or service. You've got material waiting in a warehouse somewhere. Waiting is huge. It's what I call white space. So if I've got a 180-day process end to end, and 48 hours is value add, and 200 hours is non-value add, what's the other 80 days? It's white space. It's nothing's happening. It's in somebody's inbox. If it's a small firm, it's like, how long does stuff sit in your inbox before you get to it, to do 5 minutes of work, to send it out, to sit in somebody else's inbox for 2 days until they get to it? That's waiting. And then inventory is another one. And the inventory could be not just material in a warehouse, Donnie. It could be junk not junk, but emails waiting in your inbox on your laptop. That's a form of inventory. It's work in process. It's projects that are just idle because you got too many things going on at once, and you've got a lean mindset. And the last one is it's called processing, but what's meant by that is excess processing, doing more than you really have to, a complexity. So one of the first things I'll say to a company is, what can you eliminate? What can you eliminate? I was doing a big Kaizen event with a huge company, and this was in their tax department, and there was roughly 100 reports. They call them maintenance reports that they were using. So we did a little deep dive with who reads these reports? Who do these reports go to? What's the reason for this report? We analyzed every single report. We put 100 reports up on this big wall in a huge conference room, what we call our war room, so to speak. It's our command center for a Kaizen event. And by the end of the week, we eliminated over half of them. There's absolutely no reason we need to do this report. It's redundant. Nobody reads it. It's just a waste of paper. This is back in the paper days more. And one of the courses I offer is on FMEA, failure mode and effect analysis, which is, if we make this change, what could go wrong and what can we do to make sure it doesn't go wrong? But I also use FMEA, what I'll call a reverse FMEA. If we eliminate this report, what will go wrong? It's a change, but if we eliminate these reports, are we going to be operating in the dark? Are we going to get audited and get in trouble? Is the place going to fall apart? And most of the time, no. Actually, nothing's going to happen, except we just freed up a whole bunch of time and effort. And I don't mean to. I'll say this, before we finish up, Donnie. When I talk about middle management's the most threatened and the most resistant, that's in the current model. The current paradigm of traditional business, and the hierarchical model. And Fuel is all about teaching leadership. People can manage themselves. We manage projects. We manage budgets, but you don't manage people. Okay, you lead people. We've talked about this. You know, Todd Duncan talks about this all the time. We lead people. We pull people together to get things of value done. And if middle management has one takeaway from this talk, it's that you need to learn to think lean. You need to learn leadership strategies to pull rather than push, to empower rather than control. I mean, these are basics, if you will, because now you're adding value in a different way. Okay, because we need some infrastructure. We need an organization that's well run. And so that's where you need a conductor in an orchestra. All right, you got all these players doing their thing, but someone's got to pull it together. So if middle management starts thinking more like orchestra conductors or coaches in sports, all right, they're not out on the field playing, the game, but they're critical to the game. So are the people up in the press box, the information centers and things like that. So I don't say, don't get too stuck on value add and non-value add, because when you look at it in a stream, they're miniature compared to the white space where nothing's actually happening. So there's a quick summary.
There you go. Listen, you heard it here, folks. Call the baby ugly. Coach your people. Stop pushing them. Stop managing them. But I love that, John. How can we find you? And I'm going to bring you back to that. I'm going to hold you to the irons, man. You got to tell us the first step. I want to take one step towards this beautiful heaven, this utopia that you just now described. What's the very one first thing someone should be taking? Is it eliminate? What is that? So tell us where to find you. Give us the first step. I will tell you as you're queuing up your answer, I will say, make sure you join us next week. We've got Michael Neese live. He is a futurist helping you to build the future that you want to live in. Super excited to be with him. But back to the data scientist, the quarterback of the conversation here, John Murphy. What's the one step and how do we find you?
Yeah, the one step is the first principle of lean. Specify value in the eyes of the customer. How are you getting paid as a business? And if you're like, well, I work in the human resources department, I work in the IT department, I work in the accounting department. What is that? I don't know. That's what pays your business. And everybody in the business should know what the company's value proposition is and how they're performing. So get data. And you hear me say, prove it a lot. We got a customer problem. And I'll say, no. Well, first of all, prove it. And they'll say, well, we're getting all these complaints. And I'll say, that's not the problem. That's a symptom. And so if you keep trying to solve the symptoms, the problem will never go away. You need to get to the root cause. So start with facts around how you're performing as a business, not as an individual, but as a business. And that's what starts to align everybody in the business. You can reach me on at johnjmurphy.org. Reach me through Fuel, certainly. I talk to my AI bot, my twin. That's pretty cool. And I hang out on LinkedIn a lot. So check me out on LinkedIn.
John Murph, thanks for throwing the TD. Man, we were behind at the end, but you made it happen. You brought us back. And hopefully we're going to be out there winning a little bit more because of your input. All leaders, listen, we've gotten just a little bit better at leading. And if you can lead better, you can live better. Thanks for joining us on Leadership Live. Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you.